Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Mastering Runeterra Squadcast. I'm MonteXristo, and tonight I'm joined by Santa, Phansora, CardGamer, Prodigy, and Cameron Hanzo has made his return. Welcome back, buddy. We've missed you. How you
Hi.
doing?
Great. I'm less busy right now, so I can do one.
Well, ourselves and everybody else are happy to have you back. Everybody else, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty alright, Not as upset as a lot of people are about the patch notes yesterday, but definitely not the most
kind of
in love I've
expected.
been with the game. Yeah, it was expected. Yeah, I don't love the meta right now, but it's fine. Like I'm still playing the game,
honestly.
but it's just like not the decks I like that are really good right now.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely fair. CardGamer, you bring up the patch notes, and while that's definitely a topic that's on everybody's tongues right now, do we want to talk a little bit about how we feel about the current patch cadence and whether it's adequate, if we want to see changes, what the problems with the patch cycle are as they currently exist? Anybody have thoughts on this that they want to share?
So I think that the patch cadence was fine when we were having the longer seasons, but we have like these 5-week seasons coming up, and then everything starts to get really condensed and feel problematic. I think if there was a patch either last week or like they tuned some stuff that was a little bit problematic from last season when the new cards came out, there wouldn't have really been this backlash, and we wouldn't have been in the situation. I think Drizoth mentioned this on Twitter, and the meta is very like, the decks aren't as oppressive, I would say, and like the meta definitely plays out very differently, but this kind of almost like feels like the TF is Aphelios TF type season where that didn't get nerfed, and then like the next season was kind of just like, oh, it's an extension of that, and then also like TLC is here, and we're kind of like, oh, it's like Bard Nonsense Part 2, and like KaiSa's here.
Yep.
I mean, they've basically, what they've done is they've imported League's balance structure, right? So League does a balance patch every 2 weeks, right? And they've basically just imported that over to Runeterra. But because of like balancing with mobile, they can only do balance, right, every other patch, right? And so they've kind of pigeonholed themselves into a 4-week cadence, right? Which just naturally means you can't balance a patch that you're releasing. So they release a new set, and they can't balance it. And because of the 2-week lock, right, they basically can't do anything for a whole month. I mean, I think it'd be ideal if they could throw that out and be like 1 week into the new expansion. Because like 1 week in, we all knew KaiSa was broken. Like 1 week in, Bardala was putting up some pretty crazy numbers, right? Like if you did like a 2-week bug fix 1 week after that, like maybe not massive balance patch, but like, hey, there's a few things, we're just going to touch them up and then we let everything go, right? I think that would be like a better approach, because we're going to get 10 days on the before seasonals, and then we're going to have another 4 days before a whole new expansion's dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be able to release another balance patch when they drop the new expansion. So they're just kind of like, they're just always playing catch up, and they're just like way too far behind. So yeah, it's not the worst LOR's been, I think, but we have some real doomsayers out there. But I think, yeah, they could definitely get away from, like, there's no set rule that it has to be every, month that we have to get a balance patch.
I think it's just weird the way they kind of like the balance cadence would work if they didn't disconnect it from seasonals in a weird way. Like having last season be like extra long and then this one be really short is just kind of what's throwing it off. Because like
a little bit,
yeah, like patch coming out 10 days before seasonal is like cool and exciting, but also like that happened at Worlds, and like they did that patch with like what, 5 days left or something, not even
4, I think.
4, and like that was terrible for the players. Like it's cool for a spectator to be like, ooh, let's see what fun new things people bring up 10 days, like in these 10 days, but like it's not fun to play in.
I think 10 days is like
10 days is
just
okay.
enough.
Yeah.
I would prefer 14.
Okay, yeah.
I would prefer 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Give us 2 weeks before a seasonal or like a major tournament, but 10 days is fine. It's adequate. it's enough time for excitement and like enough time to kind of figure things out, but not enough time that it's fully figured out. And like I'm sure you'll see somebody show up with something wild, and it'll be exciting and great.
Yeah.
I personally feel like the patch cadence of bug fix patch, balance patch, expansion, and the way that works is fine. But like you guys said, they're playing catch up all the time, right? A lot of the time they're fixing problems that have kind of already solved themselves with the new cards by the time we've like adjusted to the new meta and the new everything. Like go back to the Scion Poppy meta. Scion got nerfed after he was no longer being played whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that was public outcry and people just complaining that Scion was way too strong, and clearly he was a little bit too strong because when he got rebuffed he was only to 9, and maybe that was only a safety rebuff because they're like, what if he goes back to 10 and he's too broken? I don't think it would make that much of a difference. I think Scion's killing you the same whether he's at 9 or 10 personally, but you know, I do think that they could be a little bit more forward thinking with their patches and not be playing catch up, and we could be stuck in this weird, it's like a slingshot. It's like a slinky. That's the word I'm looking for, right? Like we're always going forward and backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, right? Because like League has a PBE, right? So they release all the stuff, they get all the big hype, and they release a PBE to fix all the bugs and to kind of at least try to get the balance close, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing like that for card games. I mean, obviously you have your internal testing, but it's really challenging.
Also, one thing I'll say is, like, if they were doing, like, real deal balance patches every 4 weeks, it wouldn't really be a problem. But, like, I looked it up while we were talking just to check, and the big balance patch we had last, right, the one where they nerfed Lantern, they buffed Crumble, they, like, made Disintegrate work how, like, everyone thinks it should work, that was in June. That was at the end of June. So, like, it's been quite a while, and we're not getting another balance. Like, the balance patch is August 17th, I believe, is what we've been told. So, it's going to be, you know, quite a bit until we get another balance patch.
Isn't that, like, a week before seasonals?
Yeah, it's 10 days.
It's 10 days before seasonals, yeah.
I'm expecting just a touch-up. I don't think they're going to, like, buff a bunch of cards. Because, like, normally they tell us, we're buffing a bunch of cards, heads up. Because, like, we got, like, Training Picks was this expansion. Mm-hmm. We got, like, all the random, you know, all the support, all the different archetypes, Crumble. I mean, like, all these things, right? It was a big deal. I'm expecting, like, maybe 5 or 6 nerfs.
It's probably going to be more nerfs
not even
than
that
buffs. Because, like,
yeah,
the
for
past,
sure.
Right.
Past 2, I think, have been, like, a lot of buffs to old archetypes.
Right.
I might be wrong, but I think we are due for a bigger variety patch with this one.
Really?
Interesting.
I don't know if it's going
because
to
I'm pretty
be,
sure
that would be really
the
crazy.
last one was mostly nerfs.
Yeah.
The one before was buffs.
Okay.
This
like
one,
a bunch of stuff.
This one had a lot of buffs, though. Like, I'm looking through it. Like, this had Aurelia Tune, it had Shen, it had Callista, it had Hecarim.
That's true.
It had the bar
And
change.
they told us it was a champion rework.
That's true.
They like told us they've like broadcasted the buffs and stuff.
That might
break
break their variety patch, like, because they said every other patch was going to be a variety patch, but I don't think the champion reworks fell within that cycle. So I could be wrong about that one, but we'll see. I'm sure if they are going to make it a bigger patch, we'll get some sort of hype around it, like you said.
Buffs are more exciting, but they're also a lot harder to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, nerfs, it's like, okay, this deck is weaker. What's going to fill it? It's like, what's going to fill the hole? Like, what's going to rise up? Buffs are like, something might be broken here. We don't know. Mm-hmm. This all might still be really bad, and the old dogs might still be king. And so it is really tricky to figure out from, like, a competitive...
Especially with, like, seasons right around the corner.
Because, like, one thing I will say as well is, like, if they buff and nerf, like, a significant amount of things, like, with the amount that Gwen and Evelyn have impacted the meta, like, really, we've only had one deck added to the meta. Like, Bartolai really broke through this patch, but it was making, you know, waves, like, small waves, but it was making waves right before Seasonals, and I think if Seasonals was 5 days later, a week later, it would have been there. And if you look through open rounds, and even if you look through Top Cut, you'll see people playing Bartolai and getting pretty decent results. Like, obviously, Riptide Sermon helped a lot, but we're in this meta that's really similar to what we've been in, and if we have this, like, a huge patch we're pretty much playing in like a completely new meta to like what we've been playing in. Like we're pretty much in a new format. And while like we mentioned before, it's really exciting for the spectators and all that. On the same hand, I think if you're a really like involved player, it's a little bit of a disappointing tournament to look back in hindsight. It kind of reminds me of Worlds a bit, and like Worlds is really exciting while it's going on, but if you look back at that tournament, it's like pretty disappointing considering like what people ended up bringing and how people like ended up playing some matchups out, just because there was such a lack of knowledge and everything was so unrefined. And like you can't really blame the players, you know, it's not their fault. They didn't have the time to figure things out, but you know, it was just a level of refinement that I really appreciate from like top level play and top level players competing that just wasn't really there.
All right. Anybody else got anything more to add on patch cadence and all that? Sounds like we're ready to move.
I think, yeah, sharpsight Nerf helped a little bit.
It did.
We'll see in the next week. We'll see what happens. I played against a couple KaiSas today. They still are very powerful. They do their thing. It feels like they're bricking a little bit more. I got a couple auto concedes on turn 3 just because they didn't draw any 1 through 3 units. I'll take it. I mean, it felt really nice. I just played 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. My opponent conceded because they had nothing to do. Took 8 damage on turn 3 and okay.
Feels good.
But I think the deck is just higher variance now, which I don't know feels good for anyone.
Yeah.
But the win rate might go down, and people might dislike playing the deck more, and then that mental shift might.
Maybe people drop off, and the win rate will go up.
Yeah. So yeah, just we can all hope, guys. You know, we can all make a pact to not play KaiSa together. You know,
Just gotta tell 1,000 people none of you play KaiSa at seasonals.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will add on to that the sharpsight bug fix was really nice. It definitely, it isn't like KaiSa isn't, you know, like perfectly fine now, but I think it does do quite a bit to, you know, help keep her in line. And it definitely won't go unnoticed. This patch, like, even though it doesn't do a lot, it did actually affect how games will play out.
And people are getting better against playing against her. Like, if you remove Valor, like, removing Valor is a real strategy. Like, if Valor comes down, you need to kill it.
It's like half a strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's but
I mean, if they only get 1 attack, it's not as bad as like when they get 2 attacks and they just.
But yeah,
clear
that
everything
does.
out.
Like,
So
you definitely have to play sharper as the KaiSa player. You can't just throw stuff out willy-nilly quite as much anymore because people are ready for that. The meta shifted a bit to play against that.
I've seen some KaiSa decks moving on to stuff like Rangers Resolve and whatnot to kind of adapt to the Valor
I
kills.
think Rangers is. I think Rangers is a place to be.
The KaiSa decks have adapted to a much more mid-rangey game plan recently, right? With the Void Blaster and the Valor.
Yeah. Yeah, the 4-mana 6/6 Overwhelm, kind of strong.
I've also been seeing a lot of people putting Grimfang Warden to get around people teching their decks with pings for Valor. And it's just
Dude,
like...
I'm cool with the Grimfang Warden, but I hate the Void Blaster, man. It's so hard for my boom boot. Like, it's a good card in the deck. That's why I hate it. Like, it makes it so much harder for me to win with the Felios and Lulu. Like, the matchups got so much harder, man. Like...
Yeah, it's just a big unit. How can I get through it with my Overwhelm units, right?
And then it clocks me. Like,
stopping me,
yeah.
I can kill the KaiSa, but then I gotta deal with this thing. Like, oh.
That's the thing. Like, I don't kill the KaiSa. You stop the KaiSa turn with those decks a lot of the time, and, like, you can stop the KaiSa turn, but there's this, like, 6/6 motherfucker just sitting there, and it's like, how do I get around this guy?
Have more chompers. Easy.
Dude, I can only draw so many.
Do we want to talk about like what we think should be nerfed in the KaiSa package? Because I honestly have no idea. I don't even know that KaiSa herself needs to be nerfed.
I think you can do a lot of
really
things.
curious if KaiSa is going to be like KaiSa and Void Abomination are going to be the card that make them go. You just can't grant Scout. That keyword is too strong, and it makes it impossible to balance these cards.
That just feels so inelegant. Though,
it feels terrible. It's a really
I don't like that.
It's a really gross way to balance it, but it's Like, that's the problem. Like, the problem, like, KaiSa on her own, if she never had Scout, would just be a really solid 5-drop. That's, like, threatening you all the time. The fact that she gets Scout on turn 5 is why she becomes a problem. Like, it would force the deck into playing more rallies, it'd force the deck into playing more Cataclysms, like, a bigger deck building cost.
Oh, the deck's already maxed out in Cataclysms because of Scout.
Because of Scout, yeah. But, but, like, it would force you to build around that in, like, a more interesting way, but it's such a like, it's already really unintuitive that, like, a Pantheon can't roll Scout. So to make it that, like, a KaiSa can't gain it, it's just weird.
Well, like, okay, there's a bit of a difference between removing stuff like Double Attack and Scout from the pool versus saying nothing can gain Scout or Double Attack that didn't have it to begin with.
Yeah, no, it's...
And because for Double Attack, we do have that. We have Flurry of Fist and Papercraft Dragon. There's like 2? There might be more,
there's also one for Scout. The next summon gets Scout, or...
The Demacia.
Yeah.
The badge thing.
Yeah, field promotion.
And there's
And
Shen.
so, like...
Then there's the Shen Barrett.
So, I just...
Yeah,
from a
it's
strictly
weird.
balanced standpoint, I understand coming from a strictly down standpoint. That just doesn't really work as a gameplay standpoint. It basically says, oh yeah, this Demacia card, either KaiSa, she can't have that. She's committed war crime, she can't become a Demacia in the league. Like, what are you trying to say?
I mean, there's, like, ways... I don't even know how you would word that. That's so hard.
This
So,
unit
like,
can't get Scout.
Just strictly because of that, like, I don't think it should, and I think that, like, they simply won't. Like, that's too wonky of way. It's not clean.
Yeah.
I think Scout feels really bad to lose to, and, like, it's really flashy, and it's, like, the most over the top, and it's why you die on 5, but as I've played against KaiSa more, I have 2 issues with the deck, and I think one of them needs to be solved, because these are, in my mind, one of the 2 ways this deck should have a weakness, right? So we're playing, like, this really mid-rangey, like, combo deck. It's, like, a very, like, mid-range... It's very hybrid between the 2. It really, like, in my mind, wavers the line between the 2. We've had a lot of decks that are, like, combo decks with a good mid-range backup plan, like Shurima Papercraft, I would say, is very much in that field, right? And we've had very good decks that are, like, mid-range decks with really good, like, combo over-the-top finishes. Like, Sivir Akshan is, like, the one that's more akin to KaiSa, but I think Talia Ziggs fits that as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these 2 decks, you need this weakness of either, like, you're a combo deck, you should be really weak to, like, single target removal, and, you know, you should get punished if I, you know, try and remove your stuff in some form, or you should be weak to, like, a mid-range deck, me just going wide and just saying, like, okay, like, play your big threats, I'm just going to go around you and smoke you down. The way KaiSa works now, if I'm playing a deck that wants to go wide, and you play a KaiSa on me, and I don't have anything to do against it, you're just going to wipe my board. I can remove your scout unit, fine. I'll even, like, GE to play around sharpsight. It doesn't matter, because you're just going to KaiSa attack me with, like, 4 to 5 keywords, and you're going to wipe my board, right? And then there's this other issue when you're playing, like, control decks against it, where you go, like, okay, I'm going to, you know, like, vengeance this KaiSa, I'm going to, like, disintegrate ping this KaiSa. On turn 5, they played their KaiSa, and then they go Hourglass. It's like, alright, cool, whatever you played in Hourglass, all good. And then they played their second skin on a Spell Shield unit. And now you have to keep going through Spell Shields every time you want to try and remove one of their big threats. And they just tax too many resources out of you, and then you just lose the game. If they keep drawing threats. So I think in one of those ways, they either need to make KaiSa go weaker so she can get smorked more reasonably, or they need to do something with second skin, make it cost something, make it have a speed so we can interact with the unit they're playing it on, make KaiSa have to be in play to be able to cast it, kind of like Victor Victor Hexcore. Something like that, I think, would be a good way to make it more balanced.
I would also work.
I think
I like that.
the Ziggs to Liam comparison is actually really interesting because, like, they're both Shurima, they have all the same protection tools. But if you look at, like, their big bombs, Talia versus KaiSa and Arsenal versus Void Abomination. The KaiSa versions are just so much faster. KaiSa, you can play it on 5. She's leveled. She has the keywords she needs. Talia takes until turn 6, 7 maybe.
Yeah. They're
It's-
faster and
You need to
more
have Absolver
durable.
too.
You need Absolver. Yeah, and just like there are things with was it Herald of Magus to have permanent overwhelm that's kind of similar to like what you're doing with KaiSa, but it's just a few more hoops for every comparison. And then of course Arsenal versus Void Abomination.
It's not
It's
even.
the same thing except you
Yeah.
pick your own keywords. There's like technically Arsenal's stronger if you have exactly that and Hourglass, and they don't do anything to you while you're busy doing that.
Yeah.
So
And you
yeah,
can get impact 30 on it.
yeah, it's just like across the board.
Well,
KaiSa has to jump through fewer hoops than Talia Zig, but they're both like a
Right.
very similar deck in terms of like how they're playing out their turns. They have their like overstated units, 4 mana 6/6 overwhelm, 3 or however you want to call the mana for the 5/3 returned to Scion. You know what I'm talking about.
Return
the
to
5/3.
Devolve.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's 1 mana if you ask Riot Games.
It's like
I like the second skin point of like if we made it so second skin can only be played when your unit's in play, right? So if KaiSa's removed, if she's Hourglass, even if KaiSa has used Hourglass, you can't use second skin, because then it adds like if I remove their thing, then they can't get keywords this turn, right? Or you could remove the everywhere tag. I've seen that thrown around. I also think KaiSa's such a powerful card. She could cost 6 mana and still be really good.
you could do like
And you could give her like a
I
point of
actually-
health
I
or
didn't
something.
even think
or
about
like you could
mana
you could
seven
cost.
keywords also works.
yeah, like you could change it to 7. That would slow it down a lot.
I think 7 might be
You could
too
also
harsh.
like 7 might be too much.
That's why I don't like removing
it nerfs the rest of the evolve stuff.
It's a bit
Actually,
hard.
Or like even supercharge. Supercharge is like another big thing, right?
Change the champ spell.
So that go up to 4 mana.
Champ
Yeah,
spell should
change
be
the
changed. In
That
some
one's
way.
like really hard.
It should either.
That is like hard to address.
Well, I mean, you either need. I think either you should change the champ spell to something else, or you nerf overcharge.
What would you change it to? Because like, only doesn't
The
What
So
yeah,
there's-
the
There's
shooty
one
thing.
other
Exactly.
spell.
really
one mana
It's a
spell.
really
It's
bad
not
1 mana
good.
spell. Yeah.
It's a really bad spell, which is a little strong.
1 mana Calibrum.
It would be okay in like
It's a follow.
yeah, it wouldn't be the
only-
worst thing to draw, but
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the worst champ spell. Doesn't really solve a problem that the
Um,
champion has.
I could
Which
also
is like kind of a thing of champ spells.
something that
It
It does
does,
a little
because-
bit. Going turn 5, bank
Second-
3, you play 2 Kaisas is a really strong turn against
Right.
decks that can't interfere with that.
I think instead of
like Mono KaiSa.
instead of nerfing Evolve to 7, I like taking quick attack off of KaiSa. If you just like made her a 5 mana 4/4 evolve, so like it's coming down as a 6/6 anyways. That's already a pretty good stat line, and then it makes it so you have to set up to give her like the stats you need because she's already like super hard to trade into with
So, I
her
like
spell
that.
or with her ability.
Now you play Akshan or
Yeah,
Sivir.
which is
so that's the
fine,
thing.
but
I like
that's
that as a
great.
change, and I think it
Yeah,
also
I
makes
agree.
sense flavorfully that KaiSa starts out with absolutely nothing. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But when people start playing Akshan and Sivir, I don't know if that's enough.
It forces them to use their second
it would
skin
be.
on them. Like by removing the quick attack,
Right.
it doesn't get quick attack
Okay.
unless you're second skinning
I
on
see.
something.
No.
So it makes it like because like a 5 mana 6/6 with
That would-
Spell Shield Scout Challenger Overwhelm is good enough without quick attack, right? Like
Because then it gets damaged for flock decks, right? We can
There's
flock
a
it.
lot of
like
things.
if it's damaged, you can flock it twice. Even if it's spell shielded, right? Like you can do all these things, and you can also hit it with a challenger after it's traded down once, right? Like I actually really
'Cause,
like
that's
that.
a nice
yeah,
change.
because getting a
Um,
7th evolve keyword is really
yeah.
like it's actually hard. Like that makes
It
the
is.
deck really inconsistent, and I think it'll make it pretty. Like it'll make it weaker than
Might
you'd
kill it.
like. Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. I think the 1 mana change is less harsh than the 1 evolve change, but I think your change is really elegant. I think removing quick attack makes sense flavor-wise, and it makes sense for balance.
I also wouldn't hate putting supercharge to 4 just because that will be a problem in the future.
Probably. Like everything else that does
Yeah,
similar
like-
things, deny, and like all other things that give.
I mean,
Like I don't think
are
that
a
card's
4 or
actually
more,
crazy
right?
broken right now. Like I think supercharge is actually okay, but I think it will be a
Talia
yeah,
Ziggs is
it's
gonna
gonna be a
win
Already
problem.
is, yeah.
Like Talia Ziggs, the moment Talia Ziggs is good, they're
I've
putting
already
Super
put it
on
in
that
my
deck.
deck.
Because it's
You
yeah,
play on
I mean,
everything.
yeah, like it's what you want, right? You're like put on your Talia, and then you're like, I'm gonna kill your blocker, I'm gonna push 3 or 4 damage to your face, and then it's gonna be harder to remove, and like it's gonna be good in
Yeah.
that deck.
Yeah.
It's better Herald.
Yeah, I think that's all I would do because I don't think I don't think KaiSa's actually like crazy dominant right now, but like it just does a little bit too much kind of across the board.
And if you slow the deck down, it makes it play more mid-rangey. It makes it care about board. It makes it right. It makes it like actually play the game of Runeterra a little bit more. It might still be powerful, but at least you have more turns to address it. You have more turns to go around them. Yeah, it's just not like answer this or die, right? There's actually this back and forth that goes on, which is why I think we hear less about Bartolawi because there's a clear game plan there. Like it's still a very powerful deck.
Well, I mean,
But it's like, hey, if you kill the tentacle, stuff doesn't get
with
big.
like KaiSa, it's just like you need to amass a critical amount of stuff by turn 5, or else you lose the game right then. And that's kind of difficult. Some decks can do that somewhat favorably, and many decks struggle with it. Bartolawi, they do run away with the game, but much later, and you have a lot more time to interact with them and solve their game.
Bartolawi feels a lot
Against
fairer.
KaiSa, you can ruin their board every single turn. You could ruination their board the first 4 turns, and it doesn't matter. And that's
If
miserable.
you can't answer the blinding assault KaiSa on 5, it's just like, well,
That's just miserable that that's the case.
Just lose.
It's true.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I
game.
really want KaiSa to be a deck that I don't feel bad playing. It's like I don't want to kill that deck. I really I genuinely love the way it plays. I think it's a super fun build. The
think
Sivir
it's a cool
KaiSa
deck, too.
specifically, I don't like the mono turbo out on 5.
I like auction. I want to play auction on KaiSa. Let me like.
Sure.
It's not the way to play it right now, but that's what I want. I want to be good, and it's not.
Yeah, I think
But,
just
yeah.
taking quick attack off will do it. I think that's enough.
That's a nice change.
I agree.
Well, outside of KaiSa, there is Bartolawi, of course. But what else have you guys seen running around in the metagame right now? I was playing some of that Powder Monkeys deck. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's Bandle, Bilgewater. It is a lot of fun. I'm playing Nar, TF, and Teemo in it, and you're just playing for Powder Pandemonium kills. It's ridiculous, and it's pretty powerful, actually.
The Aphelios Yasuo deck seems to be picking up more and more steam.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I haven't played it yet.
yeah.
But more and more people keep saying it's
Shadawx
actually
and Kevor are on
playable.
it.
I don't know, man.
Shadawx and Kevor are playing it. The guys top 10 EU. I'm very skeptical, but we should at least let the people know that
It
it is
exists.
a deck.
It is a deck.
Keep in mind, most of your games are going like 30 turns, so just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Do you like long Ionia
Yeah.
games? Ionia Targon value games.
Yeah.
Are you sad that Anivia is bad? Do I have something for you?
Yeah, that's true. Bard
It's true.
LeBlanc is pretty decent. Bard Shen is still
Shen
running
got
around. That
power.
deck is like not terrible. I played a couple games of that.
Bard Shen
It's
is
kind of
Bard
a buggy
Shen
Bard
Shen
deck.
is solid.
But
Only beats Alawi. I swear.
Yeah.
It only beats
it beats
Alawi
Sion.
in decks
It
that
ruins
listen.
Sion.
It also beats.
it kind of bullies Nightfall.
Ruin Scion.
Does it beat Sion?
Yeah,
it-
they have a bunch
yeah.
of 3/1s with
you're
Divine
a-
Shield. Or not Divine Shield. Oh my god. Barrier.
If you're a stat stick deck,
That tells you
It
about
messes
the current,
you up, man.
current
It-
state of the game. Phansora is too busy
Yeah.
playing Hearthstone.
Plus they can but yeah, they have a bunch of 3/1s with Barrier, which you can't attack anymore. And then they slap the Lifesteal Barrier
Yep.
onto some giant Greenblade Caretaker. And
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
luck with your
okay.
Scion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
then when they're almost out of gas, they play Sinon,
They have
and they
Sinon.
draw a bunch of chimes, and they buff their board.
The deck's kind of.
Like,
I think it's pretty good.
And also they have the current
It's pretty
Key
good.
Guardian, bug,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we don't know.
Is it a bug?
We-
is
we,
it
like,
not? I don't
actually
know.
don't
I haven't
know.
seen confirmation.
Well, okay,
There's
so the bug is that it applies twice.
I just don't think
that
it should
has to
apply
be
in
wrong,
hand.
right?
That's what I think most people
because it's just weird. It's the only like.
Didn't it not work like that? before
Yeah,
this
they
patch?
changed it.
Yeah,
It's
but
playcast, I think. Just
But,
kind
like,
of
it's just-
trickled
it's
down
just
to,
so
like,
weird.
Every single broken thing now.
I'm kind of okay with it.
It's just like it's such like
I agree. Once it's seen in hand, it should count as seen, and then like once it's on the board, it shouldn't count.
Well,
The second
but
time.
it also
I mean-
it counts units with barrier, right?
Or
As well, like if you
it's,
draw a Lux, does it trigger? Yeah, then I don't
doesn't-
like that. You
No,
have to like
yeah,
I think it's partly because
Play
they're
it.
trying to like
you gotta play it.
they're trying to find a middle ground between Bard style interactions and everything else.
yeah.
Where if it's in hand, it counts. Which you want to do for Bard, otherwise, I mean, Bard's probably still not too weak because its origin's so strong. But
It's
and then you have like Void Abomination. I don't think counts.
No.
I'm not
It does,
sure.
I think it does.
Wait, actually,
Great.
Oh,
It's just even more
gain-
inconsistent.
wait a minute. Okay, who knows?
But yeah, I just
it's just another burst. Like give 3 units barrier,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just
And they already
One
got
thing
they
I'll
got
say
the
about-
really
It-
good like there's like the 2-mana barrier spell they
Moral
got.
support.
I know it's actually 4. I forget
Yeah.
what it's
Moral
called,
support.
Moral
Yeah.
support.
yeah, like it's always 2 mana the second you're playing it, and like that card's solid in that deck.
So, like, Bard Shen is fine and all, but isn't it just worse than Ari Bard in, like, almost every matchup that isn't, like, Scion or Alawi?
Probably.
They play a little differently. I don't.
Nightfall.
Um,
It's better into aggro, I would assume.
it's a lot better into aggro.
healing is
running
really
spirits,
good.
where if you
Yeah,
just
okay, you're better
huge-
into aggro. Okay, I guess there's, like, legitimate reasons
you're also
to run it.
yeah. Like you're also like you do have more Val. Like I'm trying to think like what did you ever clear the board against like Ari? Like did Ari Bard ever run out of gas? I feel like the
Ari
Shen
Bard
deck doesn't.
can run out of gas, but they have to miss all their droplets and stuff.
It's
Right.
Like yeah, like if they're if
Yeah.
on a bad hand Ari Bard runs out of gas, otherwise it's like only if they misplay. Like if they're like dropping droplet
Shen's-
into whatever ping and they don't have protection, then
Shen's probably better against like Thralls.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
Ari
think
Bard's
Ari
good
Ari
against
Bard's
Thralls
really. I
already,
mean,
though.
everything Ione is
Ari
good
Bard's
into
pretty-
Thralls. So yeah, what else is there?
Yeah, it's a real deck. It is. It's really
Speaking of Thralls, Hanzo, how do you feel about that right now?
I'm branching out, so I'm not touching that deck till seasonals.
But do you think it's playable
It's
right
very-
now? Do you think people
I
could
think
play
it's
it?
very playable. You can run Quicksand in there. I think that helps on the current meta. So yeah, I think
I
it's
got
very
to
cool
master
seasons.
using Thralls. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used Thralls for my last 100 LP or so. I know my buddy Boomer has been
Yeah,
playing it a
he's playing a
bunch,
lot
and
of
he hit
Thralls.
rank 1 earlier this season, and he's been on the front page for most of the season. It's pretty good. The Alawi matchup is pretty hard, but it's not, like, unplayably bad. KaiSa can be pretty hard, but if you're teched right, it's very
Yeah,
manageable.
just Quicksands also been very nice.
You crush the Noxus decks that aren't
yeah.
Jhin.
Even Jin, you're actually
Um,
kind of okay into.
You're fine into Jhin.
If you
You are not okay.
if you
to
if you
Jhin.
hit your ravines, you're okay.
You are not
It's not better
okay
than
to
Jhin.
Jhin.
It's that
You're
bad.
not
Back your
okay,
ravines
it's
and
yeah.
leveling the Sandra.
You guys
is
are
a
just playing into
viable-
bad Jhin players.
I'm playing it on
Well,
You guys are
masters.
playing
What
against
do you
a
mean?
Jhin player. Like, so here's
I'm not
the
saying
thing.
your favorite.
They,
I'm just
like,
saying it's not that bad.
It's not horrible.
It's like
It's like almost even.
it's almost even. It's you are
that is an
coping.
extreme.
You are
push.
coping.
I didn't say I didn't.
That's right. You want
That
to scream
is-
that? We can scream that right now for
I'll
everybody.
I
scream
just
it.
I just
Yeah.
want to know that I didn't say almost even.
Yeah.
It's like a
We
it's
can
like a
put it up
force
for
thing.
everybody. How do you feel about that?
I'll play it.
Yeah, it's very playable, but I don't think it's
I mean-
favorite or anything crazy
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, like
It's
just
just
people
like,
that I don't know. Like if you look at, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Jhin is so good against Freljord decks, man. You play like 2 units and they just play stuns. Like, what do you do?
Yep.
And like they play a bunch of X3s, so like they're not like super soft to ravine. And like
I can play Jhin in that
They
matchup.
play 1x3.
I play 4/4s.
Sunhawk.
Oh, they play a few Sunhawks.
Sunhawk.
play Sunhawk.
and
Jin,
Crew.
Stagehand, the
Boom Crew rookie.
rookies. And I'm on a copy of the Prefect as well in my list, which I think is really good as your 40th
Prefect still
card.
dies to Ravine. That's not a problem.
It's not a
Prefect's
good
3
matchup.
health.
It's like a 4/6.
It's
I
a
think
2-3.
46.
Or it's a 1-3.
Oh, the 1-3. I'm thinking of the 3-2.
Oh,
It's
man,
a
that's all
2-3
student.
now.
Yeah, no.
It is a 2-3 now, yeah.
It's no like a Zero Relia matchup, but like I don't know, dude. I'd probably rather play against an Alawi than an Annie Jin.
I don't know. I'm out here also saying
I think that's fair.
that Azir really is pretty
Wow.
winnable right now.
That's close though. Like what is like? There are Azir Relia hands that are winnable, but like I don't know.
Oh,
man.
I just think
Like,
Sands of Time's
Darius and Azir
absolutely
are
broken
just,
in
like-
that matchup. That's all.
True.
But they attack more than once.
Yeah, I know, but like getting rid of,
Like,
but
I
like
mean,
one Sands of Time
them-
can stop like 12 damage, and you're just like, okay. I mean, like that might be enough for you to stabilize. That's it. It's not a good
also,
matchup.
them adding
Might.
Domination probably helps that matchup because Domination's not that great.
Nah,
against,
Domination
like,
just dies.
It's it's too
Well,
slow.
until it high rolls you
Or-
spell
well-
shield on Aurelia.
We don't talk about
Yeah,
That's like
we're just gonna
Or
no, it's
regen,
okay.
or
Hopefully,
tough.
Husks are never going to be meta, and we're never going to have to complain about them.
Oh, wait until they revert Vandal Tree.
I'm so glad.
I can see
Yeah,
seasonal
we
complaints
can
already. It's
revert
gonna be the
Like
Husk
Vandal Tree
meta.
Evelyn.
Revert Vandal
It's
Tree.
like old Vandal Tree, but even more RNG.
God.
I will say, like, the meta's actually pretty, like, diverse right now. So, like, top 20 Masters, we have Heimer Jace, we have TF Nami, we've got, Annie TF or Cat TF, we've got
Fizz
Azirella, we
Riven
got
hit
Nightfall.
rank 1 today, right?
We've got
Yeah,
Powder
I was
Monkey.
gonna say.
Yep, Fizz
Bitter
Driven,
rank
rank
one
1,
with that.
Thralls, and then what am I? Aphelios. Basically, Thresh
yeah, I
Facial,
don't-
but
I don't-
rebranded under
I don't know if I'd say the
Aphelios
meta's
and Gwen.
particularly diverse. I think
There's
It's fine.
I think
I played against a
too.
lot of stuff
I don't
today.
know.
Like it's a lot of KaiSa, but if you take out that one bit, there's a lot of other stuff out there.
Like you can play a lot of things, and there's a lot of things that are fine, but I don't know. I wouldn't call this like a particularly diverse meta, especially coming out of like the I guess quicksand meta we can call it. Like that meta was like really diverse.
yeah,
right?
looking at
Like you had a couple of top
looking at
dogs.
master
patch
stats
or the patch?
right now.
From the seasonal G1 that patch.
Looking at the
That
master
was a
stats
really
right now,
diverse meta, right?
20% of the 20% of games are either KaiSa or Alawi. That's 1 in 5 games are against the like top dogs, or they're just mirrors, and like that's not great.
Yeah. But last patch, it was like 8 decks that were like the entire metagame. It felt like there was like 6 or like if I don't know, like I thought of it like last season there was like 6 or 7 top dogs, and every game was those, and like there's definitely a clear tier 1 and like tier 1, but it feels like tier 2 is like super long. Like you can play anything.
Yeah,
you
I
want.
think the only problem right now
That's
is that
not,
tier 2,
like,
the
KaiSa
gap
Alawi.
between tier 2 and tier 1 is so high. Like the gap in power level is so high. So like sure you can play this stuff and you can win, but
What would you guys? Is it just KaiSa and Alawi for you guys in the tier 1? Because I think
I wouldn't
Scion's like
put
very
Scion up
close to
there.
that, in my opinion.
I don't think Scion's good enough.
I don't think so either.
Right. It's
Nightfall,
not
baby.
I have better stats on Scion than I do Bard Alawi. But that's
A lot
also
of people are
yeah.
also like targeting Bard Alawi.
At that.
My
I
tier
think
list
Scion
is
just doesn't
right.
beat either of the top 2 consistently enough.
Monkeys,
like a little behind on both.
Nocturne,
Monkeys and
I've been
Nocturne.
pretty picky.
and Bard LeBlanc at the top. That's tier 1 for me, baby.
There you go.
But Prodigy, you've been pretty picky about when you've been playing Scion, right? So that definitely influences your win rate, right? Like if you were as
I
picky
have
with
been-
Bard Alawi, I'm sure your win rate would be similar.
I am picky about even Bard Alawi too. I have been being less picky lately, and I'm still having like, I beat a couple KaiSa players today. I beat some other random stuff. I managed to beat out the the Acel stuff. Like it's not the best deck for sure, but I think it's a really really strong deck that people should just be aware of. And you can build it either way. You can build it the really burn aggressive list, or you can build it like much more controlling mid range package.
Trust.
I think mid range is better right now, and I like Burn Scion.
Yeah,
So,
mid range is
It
better
depends
right now.
what matchups you care about. Burn Scion is really good if you want points versus KaiSa. It's
That's
like
true.
really
Yeah.
important for KaiSa.
Yeah,
That's
is.
true.
It actually
Yeah.
it beats KaiSa if you build it like super
But
aggro.
then it starts to lose to a lot of the other stuff that's around. I think.
You lose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there are a lot of
It
fun
depends
things you
what
can
you
play.
want your
Like
points.
Nightfall's legitimately okay right now. I think Shurima Viego's actually good.
Yeah.
Like I think people should be playing that. I should probably be playing that.
I've had success on Timeline. Timelines has been doing all right for me and
Yeah.
some other players.
Like
Not
Thralls
to
is
lose.
doing great right now.
There's like a
Hanzo, you
good
want to
bit
talk
of stuff
about the
out
deck
there.
you hit rank 1 with?
Uh, which one?
Which one? Bro, the main one.
The main one, Cat TF. Well, I get there by KaiSa because I'm tired of, someone in this chat playing a weird,
Dirty
a very
abuser.
cringe deck.
Damn, I thought you were cool,
Dude,
Hanzo.
I
Come
flew
on.
up today this whole morning.
Hanzo just revealed to the world his true
Dude, this-
nature. Toxic to the
Dude, this whole
bone.
morning I'm playing Cat TF and I saw like sound like, okay, well, this is not going anywhere. And I could have like 4 games of KaiSa. I just in 5 minutes. Anyways, Cat TF.
You
Honestly,
get 400
classic
OP with
Hanzo.
like a Noxus flock deck, and you take the training weights off, you play a good deck, and just like the freest LP you've ever had.
Yep.
Dude, I feel you. Look, I was playing flock the other day too, on my ult, and like I was down bad, man. I was really trying, like 60% win rate. I queued up a Zerarelli on the main, like boom, the easiest like
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
5-1, 6-1 I've ever
Cat TF
had.
is fun. Like,
No,
this
I get
difference.
you,
Like
man.
KaiSa, I feel like a criminal playing because it's just like, what am I doing? Like, no, I legit play KaiSa while writing my paper. It's just so easy. You just drop it, drop the KaiSa, and I win. But like Cat TF, it's like actually fun because it's like, I don't know, like, it's sort of like Thralls because you play Landmark. But like, it's more like a puzzle as well.
You play all landmark.
It's
No,
like
but
Thrall.
I'm saying that
Single
but I'm saying that
landmark
both,
makes
like,
it the
both
same
is like
deck.
a little puzzle that I have to solve to help your opponent because
It's a like control
yeah,
combo deck.
which I like
Yeah.
combo. And I think it's really fun because like you manage like the whole entire deck and then you play a Rex and you just bump them for like 20 damage. I think that's just really fun for me.
I also just
I
want
gotta admit, I like that deck.
I'd-
I haven't played much of that style, and like I'm usually not a fan, but Cat TF is fun. Cat adds a lot of mid-rangey pressure that makes it appealing to me.
I'm happy that the meta
Have
shifted.
you-
That Ravenbloom decks are like actually
Raven
good now.
Bloom deck.
Alright, I don't know about this actually good thing. Like,
Bro,
you're
Cat
fine.
TF is a
Ladder
good
play.
deck.
Okay.
You
It's a
can't.
re- it's a
Ladder
really-
playable.
I think
It's a
It's a
legitimately
ladder
good deck.
playable deck.
Okay,
Dude,
I haven't played
look,
tournaments, but I
Hanzo,
feel
you
like
even
it's-
said yourself you instantly hit rank 1 as soon as you stopped playing. I don't know about this really
But
good
like,
deck talk, okay?
Riot Vriss hit rank 1 like 2 days ago playing Cat TF.
yeah,
Like
that's
it's a
Dude,
good deck.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a really good
He-
deck.
it's fine,
It
but
is.
like
It's
also this is like how I said like the Hanzo like training weight thing. Like this guy went from like puff caps to like Nox TF. Like yeah, you can go from like a tier 5 deck to a tier 3 deck, and like you'll do a lot better.
He's
like,
an FTG
I think
boomer too,
I think
so,
if I think Cat TF is tier 1, but only in this meta. Like I think the second this meta starts shifting, like if you see any like there's a lot of decks that
Any Shurima comes back, if any
Winding
Talia
Light.
Zigs, Winding Light,
Instantly
or
gone.
like Zera Zillion.
I
like
think to
those kind of
start
decks,
being
if those
good,
start
like
coming
once
back.
Lowly becomes a thing, because this deck just crushes it Lowly, and like it's great.
yeah.
Thralls
And then
comes back.
and then Frost started to come back now, so this deck started to become a little bit like
Thralls will come back.
less good.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of decks that beat Cat TF. So I think like it's really well positioned right now, and that's making it put up the numbers it is. But I think in a different meta it would be like
Yeah,
a fringe tier 2
not gonna be
deck.
great, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk just briefly about the deck that's that's ranked 4th in APAC right now.
Okay,
Have you guys seen?
No.
Maokai?
Okay.
Is
Yes.
this the mill deck that people are talking
I've
about?
So
seen
yes
it.
I have, but
It's
not
such a funny
Can
concept.
you send me that?
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you. But he's got 66% win rate over 90 games.
Holy.
He's currently ranked 4. It's starting to pop up in NA,
So-
NA as well.
Real quick,
Yes!
It
the
is showing up,
for
man.
everyone, the concept of this deck is because you're tossing half your deck, your chimes are more likely to hit on your higher cards because you don't have as many cards in your deck. You have like 10 cards in your deck, and so you get all your chimes.
He won 4 games in a row against Kaisa.
Yeah.
He's just main decking Despair.
That's...
What a Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy.
I know, he's just a gig. I know, he's running Spirit Leech. Like, this is a red tape, like, red flag, like, enter at your own risk, like, you know, back alley, someone's selling you, you know, a weird pile. Like, this is, but if someone's, you know, sitting there, you're D4, you got nothing better to do, like, just we're giving you the
Stick
stuff
around
this
after
week,
after the podcast.
because this is the meta where we've gone to the doctor, we've said, please give us a balance patch. They've said, no, you're on your own. So now we're going to the guy in the back alley, like, we need something, man. We gotta get through this meta, like, what are you selling out here?
Oh, God.
Hey, look, okay. Looking at the stats, it's better than Infinite ever was.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
You know?
You say that, but Loser Beam's like 300 LP with Infinite.
Right now? Why is he
still
playing it? Dude.
Where is Loser?
So I will say that
Somebody
this,
ping
Bro,
him,
what do
see
you
if he
mean
can
where
get
is
a mod.
he? He's just spamming games of Infinite, apparently.
No.
so
Okay,
Maokai
that
Bard
makes-
has a 42% win rate
That makes more
when it's played,
sense.
but
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, why play good
But
Bard decks
it is
when you
putting
can
up-
play Maokai?
it is putting up really good numbers in APAC, and it is coming over to it's coming over to NA, and people are doing
Okay.
stuff with
I
it,
do.
and it's
People
not
are
the
playing
worst.
it.
games.
I
Before
think Quacko was in my chat
Games are
about
being
Yeah.
played.
Before anyone starts playing Infinite, Loser has won with it recently, but it is a 48% win rate over 100 games. And he's like one of the best Infinite players in NA. It's
Oh
Please.
boy.
Infinite's not a real deck.
Yeah. Just play Maokai
Yeah, just-
Bard instead. It's that easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Currently, it's ranked 37 in NA, and his win rate is also above.
Guys, do you think it might be fun if we played a game of Maokai Bard for the podcast?
Well, no.
Hell yeah.
There's
No, I don't.
people listen to just audio.
We should
well,
link we should
there's a video.
link a video in the YouTube later. We could do like an extra
And-
segment. Like go to the YouTube page and
That's a
we'll
good
link
idea.
it. We'll link the
Masters
video.
players
later.
win a game with Bard Maokai.
We'll do that after, though. I'm down.
Yeah. We'll do a second recording.
Yeah,
and
we'll do that after
just
the stream.
let Greg and the others know, and they'll sort it out for us. We'll get some extra content for you guys.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
comment,
yeah.
subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want more Maokai Bard,
Prodigy doing my job
If you
for
want
me.
us to int Monty's LP more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
This is a hostage scenario, don't forget it.
yeah.
You think I'm not going to be playing that on Master's Ladder? You're mistaken.
Can you tell me when you're playing that? Like
Alright,
literally.
let me know when
this
you're
message
queuing up,
from-
Santa.
Yeah. We're all gonna run into each other. Santa says I'm playing. All of us get on. We run into each other.
I can't run into you. I'm D4.
Wait, you guys are playing Scion and Cat TF right now. Just checking. Just making
checking.
sure, you know. Okay,
Yeah,
alright.
yeah.
Good,
Me
good
and
to know,
Fudge are
good
like
to know.
dodging each other. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Darkness is also.
Darkness
coming
has
back.
been
I've seen a lot
coming
of
back.
But they nerfed Darkness.
They didn't.
Did-
Oh my god.
They did. They bugged
Is
it.
that
It's a
Nerf?
nerf.
A bug
It's a
fix.
nerf. For this meta,
So
it's a
for people
nerf.
that don't know,
Darkness finally can
That's-
win
for
the
people that
game.
don't know-
How is that a nerf?
Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we should explain the bug, right? So the bug, for people that don't know, is when you played it, Ishtali Sentinel, it used to double shoot whatever you shot. So if you shot the Nexus, it would shoot it twice. If you shot a unit, it would shoot it twice. So you could like get through a spell shield unit with a big darkness, or you could just like have a 3 damage darkness that shoots twice for 6 damage, which is a big deal because you had control over how to abuse the bug. So it is probably a slight nerf, but
Which is
it
good.
works as intended again now, which sometimes is
Yeah.
to your advantage.
It should work this way, but I will say, versus a lot of the decks in the meta right now, doubling up, shooting like a KaiSa or like an Alawi or a
Just for
Tentacle
spell shield,
is
too.
like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
That's
spell
true.
shield, that's pretty good.
That's very fair.
Catalyzer back to 3.
Aside, I think. Please no.
Oh, no. Let's not do
Please
that.
no. I don't miss when Darkness was playing Yordle Captain and Yordle Explorer. That was
Well, that was the best time.
It was
for
kind of
Mon
the best
Mon,
time. I was really here for it at that moment, but I don't want that back. I knew it was
That
temporary.
That was the peak, like, darkness is Jund, like, timeline.
Never again.
Was that Ken and Ezreal patch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Bandle 1.
One.
Dude, look, you haven't lived till you played a 4/7 Vigar on, like, turn 6.
Right?
And I never will.
Yeah, and you'll never get to do that.
Bummer.
Look, you're missing out.
Just play
See?
just play Viger Bard.
Look,
Yeah.
obviously.
while you were studying Ken and Ezreal, I was playing 5/8 Vigar.
Mhm.
We're not the same.
I'm still trying to play Ken and Ezreal.
It's good. Prodigy's been peddling it the past 2
Bro,
weeks.
don't. Just play Ari Bard. It does all the same
Just
things
play
Ken and
Maokai.
Ezreal does, but with consistency.
Maokai Bard is the future.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
you should
okay,
play
so the
Ken
problem
and
with Ken
Ezreal.
and Ezreal is
Even-
because everything's so big you can't kill anything with the Ken spells.
Yep.
Like
Just kill them
against
with
something like
Ezreal.
I mean, I feel like it's a bad matchup, but like probably, but like against things that run like X1s, X2s, you can actually clear the board and keep it thin, so you can have your Eye of Dragon block down just enough until you can play Ezreal. When there's a 10/10 tentacle coming to slam your face, you can't do anything.
It beats that deck.
Or-
You only have to stun
Yes.
one thing. You just stun it.
It's okay.
Or recall
They
it.
have a bunch of
Hoko is, like-
medium-sized guys. They're all like 4 and 5/5s.
That
Oh,
matchup is
sorry.
really, really bad.
The Ionia crushes allow.
Yeah. Like, the deck loses to everything else. The deck loses, like, to everything
Either
else,
way.
but it does beat Alawi Bard.
Loses
Oh,
hard
barely.
to everything
Alright.
else.
I think we're scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel of the decks right now.
Yeah.
Is anybody seen anything else that's like moderately
Apollio's
decent?
Gwen, I
'Cause
think it's pretty good.
I'm tapped out.
Oh, do we want to chat on the tournament meta at all?
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
I played
there's
an
also-
OLS
there's
this
a
last
Mastering
weekend. I don't know if
Runeterra
anyone else
tournament
did.
up
I started
on
to.
Saturday.
There is the Master Runeterra
Mastering
tournament on Sunday. I have a bounty on my head. Do
Yeah,
you guys
what-
have bounty on your head?
I
on
think
your
it's
heads?
any of
I
us
think
who are
so.
playing.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's
I
the
didn't
prize?
I can't, unfortunately, but
I might be playing.
No, for the bounty. I
I
was
think it's
curious what the bounty
$500.
was.
I think it's
Oh, I think it's a
prize pool.
T-shirt
Merch?
or
Oh,
something.
the-
It's merch,
That's
I
kinda
think.
cute.
It's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
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 So if I take one of you guys
Only
out,
to
can
think
I
you
get the
take us
bounty?
out.
Is that?
I played OLS too. What did I play in OLS? Oh, I don't even remember my lineup. Prodigy, you want to talk about your OLS run?
Yeah. So so actually I streamed it all. So if anyone wants to go back
Nice
and watch,
plug.
it's all on. It should be on Twitch. But yeah. I mean, hey, if people want to see, I went undefeated actually in OLS. So I had to drop because of the Starguard Invitational. And I missed out on tiebreakers. I got 9th off tiebreakers, even though I dropped the last 2 rounds. So I missed on top cut. But I brought Viego. Scion, and Alawi Bard. And I soft targeted Alawi Bard, Heimer Jace, and
Ban KaiSa?
TF. Ban KaiSa. Yep. So I just banned KaiSa, brought 3 really good decks that were good into everything else. Yeah, it worked really well. I went 8-2 in matches. Felt very, very smooth. Yeah, I ran into a decent amount of Heimer Jace. What else? A lot of Cat TF, a lot of Annie TF, Cat TF. Ran into a lot of that. I teched Rekindler in my Viego list to make it better. So yeah, it was a good time. The tournament was really fun. I enjoyed it. I think I saw a lot of different stuff. Like people were normally playing either KaiSa or Bard Alawi. A lot of people weren't on both because they didn't want to open stuff up to targets. But there was a lot of variety, and it felt like very a lot of matchups were 50-50 and very skill influential. It didn't feel like I know people talk about how they like to have tournament matches decided in the ban phase, right? You like to queue in and my lineup counters their lineup, I win, or whatever. But it felt like a lot of games were actually decided off play, and very different decks with very different strategies going into each other. They felt very good power level because we banned that you don't. They ban your Bard Alawi and you ban their KaiSa, and all of a sudden it's a fair game. So I really enjoyed it. It was a really good time playing in a tournament.
Yeah,
So
That's
I also played OLS. I also had a good time. I went 2-1. I lost to Void in round 3. But I think I misplayed that last round pretty severely. I also had to drop because of the Star Guardian event. I went to cast that. I brought Annie Jin, Nightfall, and Zillion Echo. and I didn't really have a plan. I just wanted to play decks that I was comfortable on, and
You had a plan. It's the
that I'm
face.
good with. Yeah, exactly. That's my plan.
Yeah, I mean you're banning
Yeah.
Bartalawi, right?
Yeah,
Leaving KaiSa.
I think
up.
so. I
Sounds
don't
like
even know if
at
I'm
least a
leaving
strategy.
KaiSa up. Maybe like I was just banning whatever I wanted to play into least out of their lineup. You know, because people are bringing like Thralls and stuff alongside random stuff, and I think I have to ban Thralls with Nightfall. Maybe not. I don't know. I could get through it with Zillion and Annie. Sometimes I get through it with Nightfall. It's a weird lineup. I don't think it's super cohesive, but it was good enough to perform.
Yeah, I feel like most of the tournament lineups are built around KaiSa, built around Alawi Bard. You can't really build around both because, like, first off, it's kind of a bad idea, but also they conflict a lot in a lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, bring the top 3 decks is still a good lineup, so I feel like bringing both of those isn't ruining your lineup that bad.
It just makes your lineup, like, the top 3 decks isn't like it's not a very cohesive lineup. Like, it's usually at least, like, a reasonably cohesive lineup, but, like, that's, there's no deck on
which
their
is like,
level.
Right, like you can bring 2 good decks, and you've got to bring a third deck, and like that's already going to be a liability. Is it? Okay.
So.
Like you have to bring a third. Yeah, you have to bring a third deck, and so like that's your liability. And then if anyone, which a lot of people are targeting one of the 2 big decks, right? And so most people are planning to ban one and target the other, or like soft target at least, right? And so you're basically just like you're never going to have a good matchup when you bring both of them. And then you're always going to have to play the other one into like probably semi-unfavored. So I think you're better only like giving yourself one target.
I mean, sure, yes, but like I think those decks are enough ahead of the pack that like just like going to any seasonals, you can just look at the stats, bring the top 3, and you could do better building a more cohesive lineup. But just bringing the good decks isn't necessarily bad.
No, and yeah, both the decks are very powerful. You are going to just win games off them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't bring KaiSa because it feels like it loses to itself more than not. And for me for a tournament, I don't want to like lose a couple rounds because my deck decided to not show up.
That's fair. Yeah, I gotta write my lineup article after this, and I don't know what I'm putting down.
4LW won Mystic Shot with a
Sick.
double Ruination lineup with an interesting one.
So like,
Yeah, I ran into him on ladder today. He was like, this lineup beats Bartalawi. I queue him today playing Bartalawi, and I run him out the door. And I'm like, no, it doesn't, buddy. You beat bad Bartalawi. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like Ruination. It beats him, and I'm like, no.
Gwen thing he's been playing. Yeah, that deck is funky.
interesting.
It's a 4LW
It's-
deck.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's
Does that run heroin?
Yeah, it's
It
2
is.
heroin,
Cannot
1
advise.
ruin, and then it's a funky deck. It's running Yordle Captain and Rekindler.
It's a pile.
Like, it is weird.
So like Prodigy, I can see why 4LW might think that playing on ladder Ruination beats Bartalawi. Now you in particular think it's not true. Because of what you said about how you play some of these matchups, where you just play it slower and you use Wind of Charms.
That's literally what I did. I just sat there with a Bard on the board, and I'm like, do you want to kill this? And then I said, you have 1 Ruination in your deck. I'm going to play into it, and I'm still going to have reload. And he didn't have it. And then I was like, Merry Christmas. Here's 2 Alawis and a Bard and a Tentacle. Because I had the hard read.
good.
There was no Ruination.
That is how it
It
is.
was pretty free. So yeah, it's a fun pile. He's got decent success. There's a lot of the Gwen Hollow package. There's a lot of like real piles there. I think the Gwen P&Z pile that looks really fun. The Sparkling Iced Tea and the basically Sentinel Control with Shadow Isles. That one's got some legs to it. I think there's a lot of like really cool decks out there that are close, that aren't going to quite make it right now, but. There's
Once
some
these
real
like
brews that
really
could be
big
powerful.
units start to fall out, like if like Alawi Bard, like actually Bard as a whole kind of, but like if Bard as a whole starts to like fall out of the meta, I think Gwen will find a really solid place. Because like it can be pretty hard to attack with Gwen right now, which is kind of the problem.
That's
So
true.
like Yeah.
And
So
you're dying a
like,
sermon.
I think Gwen has more issues than that, though. Like, SI is not hot. I think Gwen being an SI
I think
is a bit
there's
of an
a
issue.
little bit.
there's good ways to build it. Like there's a bunch of decks that are like almost there. They can't perform right now.
I think it kind of suffers from the ephemeral problem where you're just like accepting you're going to lose on board for so many turns before you can start
It doesn't have to
I feel
lose
like
on board
you don't
that
have
hard
to
though.
play that way,
Yeah.
though. I feel like people are overplaying into the hollowed stuff, and like you can take longer to level your Gwen.
Yep.
Like it doesn't have to be in a single turn.
Yeah. My favorite build right now is SI Shurima, because Shurima has all those vulnerables and all those units that let you take your 3/1s and your 2/1s and you can trade up. And it lets you control the board, and then you have this permanent hollow buff that keeps building up and building up and building up until it's like kind of too much. SI Targon's
I like
weird.
SI Targon. I
Um,
I like the What Am I Piles. I think those
they're
are actually pretty
super fun to
I'm
play.
gonna like mess around with them this
it's
week.
Aphelios Gwen. Yeah, Aphelios
I
Gwen.
mean, you get to play the
it
Targon
runs
Evokes,
Ruination,
It's
Harrowing,
Aphelios Gwen.
Celestial Trifecta, bunch of stuff like that, like Priestess, Solari Priestess.
It runs the Winding Light early game package, and then it runs the Targon like value package on the top end, and then you like it's
Also
kind
has
of
a
like
lot of
Winding Light, but you
flushes.
don't have the Winding Light card. But like you play the early game of Winding Light.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of silences to like beat Bartolali.
it's a very cool deck.
So
I like the PNC piles, but I don't think they're the best. I think Formal Invitation is very good with Nightfall cards, though, and I'm wondering if there's like more use cases for Formal Invitation in of like a similar vein, because I think that card's being underexplored right now.
Yeah,
Did anyone
It's
ever?
just so bad in most SI decks because most SI decks are Vile
Yeah.
Feast decks. And I'm not cutting Vile Feast to play Formal
Yeah.
Invitation.
that's the thing is you don't want to get your spiders. You don't want to be like reviving.
I almost wonder if you want to
Yeah.
use it to pull Boom Baboons. And Chompers. Like, think about it, the
probably
discard
not.
package is not that bad to
But-
get back.
So like, alright, but here's the thing, Monty. Then I have to be playing Shadow Isles.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but
here for
then
this Shadow Isle
You have
hate.
like fair.
Dude, Shadow Isles is my favorite region. I want
Pharos
to be
is
playing
really
Shadow
good in
Isles.
SI.
There's 2 good Shadow Isles decks.
Pharaoh's Financier is really good in SI.
Wait, what's
Yeah,
the
it
second
is.
one?
It's like another bonus to being
This-
to like.
Yeah,
It's like
okay.
Nami and Jace Hyman.
Yeah,
right?
Nami
Like,
was
those
the
are
one I was
two good
forgetting.
Shadow Isles
I
decks.
was like, I know I was
Nightfall,
literally
you were playing
playing it.
Nami
Nightfall.
yesterday. You-
Nightfall.
You were
Nightfall.
Oh
jamming.
yeah, 3. Oh, I'm sorry, Monty. I didn't mean it. There's 3. I didn't mean it.
Did anyone ever try building an open
Yep,
home
I have
list?
built, like, if you can give me a concept, I built it. And none of them are great in this meta. Gwen's just not great right now. I think the reason the Aphelios Gwen list is doing okay is because it's not a Gwen deck at all. They barely care about Gwen. They win through Celestial Trifecta, just like running your opponent out of resources. Like, it's a value deck. It's not like Gwen.
Alright, but how is a value deck winning
It's not
in
really.
2022?
It's a deck that's doing really well
Yeah.
in the hands of people really good at it, but I think its like overall win rate is negative. It has a 45% win rate right now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think the hollowed package as a whole is very
Yeah.
powerful, but I think it's a little too slow. I think if the game was 2 turns slower, I think the hollowed package could be really good because you could start to like put the big buffs on like atrocity targets and like you could start to do good things with this damage. But as it is, like, congratulations, you have 4 hollowed procs, which is a lot, right? You have 4 hollowed procs on turn 5 or 6. It's like your opponent is playing a much bigger threat than like your 3 attack fearsome becoming a 7/1, right? But if a couple more turns, the way the mana works and the stuff in the game, right? All of a sudden that 4 hollowed becomes like 7 hollowed, right? And that 7 hollowed is like a 10 damage unit. And because of keywords and stuff, maybe it has overwhelm or maybe whatever, right? And so if the game slows down by a few turns, I think we could start to see these hollow decks pick up steam. But I think as is right now, I think
the best
like
hollow
2
deck
turns
is still
too slow.
Mono Viego. And even there, hollowed might just be worse than running standard Mono
Still
Viego.
Nightfall.
Yeah, I've messed around with it. I don't think
like
you run
right
much
now
hollow.
I
You might run,
like
1 or 2.
the
The
one
one
drop
drop,
just
it's like-
because it just gives you that little, yeah.
2/1s are
I'm-
good.
I'm playing the 4-drop. I'm playing the 4-drop because it dies. It gives you the Ephemeral.
The
And you can
straight
start
draw?
your-
Oh, the
you start your,
3 mana 4
Oh, the
too.
3-drop?
Yeah.
Free drop.
Yeah,
the
that one,
3
Strike
mana
of the
4/2.
Band's okay, but like,
I don't know.
it's weird. It's a weird package.
I just feel like Gwen struggles so much because, like, outside of, like, the literal Gwen cards that go with Gwen because Gwen is an SI champ or an SI. Because, like, when I think of Gwen, it's like, okay, I want protection for this card, and I want good evasive keywords, right? Like, elusive and overwhelm. SI doesn't give me any of that. So, like, now I have to try and go to one region to get both of those, and, like, the Shurima protection isn't really but it's not really the protection you want. Like, imagine if Gwen was, like, a Shurima Ionia deck. Like, how, like Gwen would be insane. It's just, like, she doesn't have access to the card pool she needs.
The Ionia Gwen, like, elusive beatdown is also another deck that I think is just a little too slow right now that can actually get there. I think
That makes sense.
I think that deck's issue is, like, you just lose to any deck with elusives. Because, like, you can't play any, like, other
I
evasive
think the
keywords
one
to
that
get
has
there.
the biggest chance of being a real deck is some form of Auction Gwen or Sivir Gwen. And it uses things like Supercharge, it uses Ancient Hourglass. Because, like, if you swing in and they try to remove Gwen on the swing, you Hourglass it maintains that attack for the next turn. Now you can, like, hold up Atro as a threat. You can do a lot of fun things like that. It's just, like, a little too slow right now. But I think if everything else, like, if the meta slows down a little bit, I think that deck is going to be real. It's so close. I also just love Gwen. I just want it to be good.
Yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
cool too.
I'm
I'm
on a little bit of cope, but
She's a very, very strong champion. I mean, the things that she does are incredibly powerful. She just doesn't. She doesn't
yeah.
like.
But yeah, the
fit
Sivir,
into
like the
archetype
Sivir Gwen
really
list I was running, I have a 60% win rate on. Like, even right now, and I don't.
Because there aren't any Shadow Owls decks that are really good right now. Is the thing. I mean, you have Viego that's kind of playable, but like that Viego
Viego's not
really
running
wants to just run himself, right, as the only champion. And then you have Nami TF, which both those champions are very, very much locked, right? Those are like the only two Shadow
Heimer
Owl
Jace
decks
also
that
can.
have.
But, like,
Heimer Jace, right?
But, like, well, Nami TF and Heimer Jace they're really more PNZ primary and Bilgewater primary decks. They run Shadow Owls for the rest of the control package, but they're primarily.
I will say that
the
Nami
other
TF
reason.
can slot
Isn't the time
Gwen
they're playing
over
other
TF, and it's still a playable deck. Like, you can tweak the deck a little bit
It's just worse.
and run some different, like, cards to.
Play Strike Up the Band.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound better.
I don't think it is, but it was putting up numbers.
doesn't
Yeah,
sound
I'm
better.
pretty sure it's just.
It's
Yeah,
putting up
I'm
lower
pretty sure it's
numbers
just
than TF
worse,
Nami.
but it's like the closest you can get right now.
Yeah.
I mean, well, best Gwen deck right now is just Spider Aggro.
Yeah,
You just run
but,
extra
like,
Doom
That's
Beasts.
better as an Annie deck.
It is, yeah.
We just play Annie. Yeah.
Is it
Oh,
better
is
as
it-
the Annie deck?
Current.
Tentacle
Current
Slim's a
meta?
Current
card.
meta, you just kind of don't
Annie's
want
still
Gwen.
like a one
Like-
drop that gets in for 2.
Yeah, I think it's gonna slow down a little bit, and I hope it slows down. I want Bird to be tuned down out of the meta just a little bit, so that way decks like this can Bard.
Bird?
Well,
Bard.
you can.
Bird's
Yeah,
fun.
I want
It's
the
a-
Bard decks
Bird's-
to
yeah.
be slowed down just a little bit. I want KaiSa to be slowed down a little bit, and I want these other decks to actually have a chance to shine.
All right. Well, we are coming up on an hour 10, give or take a bit. I think it's a good place for us to call it for the podcast, and we can go do that Bard Maokai recording. I'm excited for that. Do you guys have any final words for everybody, all of our listeners, all of our lovely viewers?
Cat's better.
Cat's better.
Let us know what kind of like content you guys like. I know like this week we talked a little bit about balance, about like changes we'd like to see. We tried to come at it with like a constructive approach of like why are these things problems, and like what would we concretely like to see changed and why. If you guys like, last week we kind of did like a deep dive into the meta. The meta hasn't changed a lot, so it doesn't make as much sense, but even like pseudo deck guides, matchup guides, like lineup building prep, like just let us know because we can definitely talk about a lot of things. But go out there, grind ladder. Seeding matters.
Yeah.
This is the patch we're gonna be playing on for a while, so get used to it.
Yeah, we definitely.
But yeah,
Go ahead, CardGamer.
please like let us know if there's any topics you want us to talk about. Like a lot of the time, if you guys don't watch the Twitch streams, how these end up starting out is people just trickle into the call. We're talking about random BS. There's something that we're talking about, and we start off with that, and we just snowball. But you know, like I'm sure there's things you guys
we usually have like a
interested
few
in
like
us talking about, so please let
concrete
us know
topics to
what
talk
that would
about,
be.
but filling an hour.
Yeah, it's not very ideal, and like there's a lot of time we just end up filling and snowballing, going off into tangents. So yeah, let us know. And play Aphelios. That deck's still good, man. Like, it's still really good.
I was gonna say we read pretty much all the comments on these, so like we see what you guys are saying. If you guys have anything that you like, that you don't like, let us know, because we do take it into consideration and try to adjust and account for what everybody wants to hear and see and all that jazz. Yeah. Okie dokie. Thank you all for sticking through to the end. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, and maybe click.
Make sure to like, comment, and
CardGamer's got me. Prodigy got me earlier, and remember to click the button wherever it's gonna be for that Bard video that we're gonna do, because that'll be somewhere.
That's like upper right. One of
Well,
your
they could put
rights.
it somewhere. It could be there. It could be there. It could be there.
Put it on
There's
his
like
face.
options. I do
Yeah.
YouTube
Just put it
stuff.
right on his
You're
face.
right on your face.
They could do that.
Yeah.
All right. Good night.